hello, my beautiful pearls. I hope everyone is doing great. I miss you guys. It's been a while. As you can see, I've been doing some work in the background, backstage. Been busy with that. So I hope that you had the chance to check out the things that I was doing. And I hope you like it. I am personally in love with the new branding that I have done and the new brand that you can see today. It's so exciting for me because I've been struggling a little bit, and it's very normal, we all do that from time to time. And I was somehow trying to figure out what it was, and I realized that I had been living so much in a place where my masculine was kind of taking over. So I decided that I needed to do a shift, and that's exactly what I did. And I hope that this shift is going to, work well with everyone here in this group and also everyone who will see it eventually. I am so excited to be here today. Today is going to be one that is very, very close to my heart. I'm going to talk about the major things or the three things, not major, like these are the only three things that helped me or moved me from one place in my life to a completely different place. So before we start, I just want to remind you, we're going to be together for around an hour, between 45 minutes and an hour. And I have an invitation for you at the end of this life. So by the end of this life, stick to that and I'll tell you what the invitation is for. Now, before I jump and tell you how I managed to change my life and what it was exactly that I did in order to change my life, I want to tell you a story of a time that I personally don't like to remember it because it was a very emotional time, not just for me, but I think for everyone who was somehow involved, like whether directly or indirectly, with that time or who was there during that time. And if you've seen the post that I placed this morning, you would probably know what I'm talking about. And if not, I'll just tell you the story. So back in, I don't even remember the year, 2020, 3 years ago. It was on one August night. I remember very well, it was a Tuesday because on Tuesday, every Tuesday, usually, I go out with my bikers friends, and we go out on the bikes. We just connect. We see each other. We spend time together. Do things that we like to do together. Just have coffee, and ride on our motorbikes. So I was getting ready. I was literally, I was in the shower actually. And my phone wouldn't stop ringing. It wouldn't stop buzzing. I was receiving messages after message, after message, after message, like nonstop for almost 10 minutes. And at the beginning, I was like, okay, somebody's really insisting to talk or someone really wants to tell me something. But then eventually the intensity of the messages was so big and with literally no breather between one message and the other. So I was almost panicking, wondering what the hell's going on. Excuse my French, but I was very seriously worried what was going on. And my worry was on point because something major was going on. Something really big was going on. So I just jumped out of the shower, put my robe on, and I went straight to my phone. I don't usually do that, but because of that insistence in receiving those messages, I was like, okay, I gotta know what's happening. So I just went straight to my phone. I opened my phone, and my WhatsApp was full of messages from everywhere, like on all the groups, personal messages coming through, people just sending stuff. And I was like, what is going on? So I opened the first group, and the first thing that I saw was this video of probably the biggest, not probably, I mean, for me, it was the biggest explosion that I've ever seen in my entire life, like physically happening there and then. And I was shocked. I was like, what is that? At like the first thing that crossed my mind was like, okay, that's just a joke and it's a movie, and that's really not true. But then those videos I kept on watching, and every video was coming from a different perspective, from a different side, from a different angle, and they were all filming. If you can notice, just talking about it now feels like it's happening right now. So everybody was like sending those videos from all different angles, filming the exact same explosion. And that explosion took the whole world by storm. Kind of same as what is happening today with the earthquake that took place in Turkey and Syria. That explosion was actually happening in my own hometown. This is exactly where it happened. And our house, thank God, my parents were not there, but our house is very close to where the explosion took place. And I also have so many friends and so many people living in my hometown city, Beirut. That explosion was the explosion of the port of Beirut. And everyone in the world heard about it. Everyone in the world saw it. Everyone in the world was completely blown away, like in a negative way, by what happened. Which, by the way, is still a mystery until today. But that's another story. So, the reason why I'm telling you this is that everything that happened after that, me seeing those videos, put me in a place in my life that I really, really don't want to go back to. So, as soon as I saw these videos, the first thing that I thought of is like my parents, because my parents still live there. They were just not in the city, but they still lived in the country. So I started calling them, and obviously the phone lines were off, nothing was working. I was sending them WhatsApp messages, sending them SMSs, nothing was going through. For at least 2 or 3 hours, I was like kind of just stuck there. I didn't know what to do. Obviously, I put the TV on and I was watching the TV stations. Every TV station in the world was focusing on what was happening. And I couldn't reach my parents. So I felt so stuck. I felt so helpless. I had zero clue what to do. And watching what was happening, watching the news, watching the live feed of everything that was going on there, took me, like, I became a person who kind of like a zombie. I was looking at the TV. I was watching those videos on my phone. I was waiting for just one sign of, hey, we're alive, we're okay, from my parents, from friends that I was trying to get hold of, from family members that I was trying to reach, just to also make sure that everyone is okay, and also that my parents, like, by no means were close to that explosion. Although they live very far, but they kind of also move around. So for almost 3 hours, I was stuck there in the unknown, not knowing who's alive, who's not alive, who was close to that explosion and who was very far from that explosion. Who should I reach out to? What should I do? How am I going to deal with this if anyone's, hurt? What am I going to do? All these questions, I was struggling with having answers to any of those questions. What happened? Who did that? Why would anyone do something like that? What is going on? And these were the questions that I was living with then. And I kept on living with those questions for quite a while. Now, luckily, thank God, my parents were very far from the explosion. They were in the mountains. Thank God for that. And no one close, like really close, was hurt. But a lot of people were. And during that time, until my parents answered me, my mom answered the message and said, we're okay, don't worry, everyone is fine. We just have zero clue what happened, and we don't know who is okay in Beirut because they were in the mountains. So during that time, I was stuck for literally 2 months. I did not switch the TV off. Like literally, I did not switch it off. And I was watching and I was wondering and I was trying to wrap my head around what just happened in my own city. Like almost like a nuclear explosion took place. And what's going to happen to my people? What's going to happen to my country? What's going to happen to everyone that I know? What's going to happen to me? Will I ever have the chance to go back? Those were the questions that I was having over a period of 2 months. I literally did nothing else in my life except watch TV, cry my eyes out all day, all night. Like I couldn't eat. And it's funny because people think that when you're far away from something, you kind of like detach from it. I would have loved if that was the case, but no, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. I was there. It's as if I was living in the middle of the explosion, in the middle of everything that was happening there and then. And I felt every teardrop that a man was crying or a woman was crying for a loved one, for someone that they were not finding. It was that emotional. And when I think about it again today, I mean, look at me. Again, now, I am feeling that emotion. I am feeling that anger. I'm feeling that struggle. But what happened then was not just this. Today, I'm feeling angry, yes. But I know that this is not going to stop my life. This is not going to stop me from moving forward. But in those 2 months, I was literally doing nothing else. I was sitting there just watching, waiting, wondering hoping for anything to happen. And until today, unfortunately, nothing happened. Until today, it's still like this big mystery. But for those 2 months when I was doing nothing, my life just stopped. And then suddenly, because I felt like there's nothing, I'm unable to do anything to help, I switched the TV off and I took a decision that I'm not going to switch it on again. And by the way, I haven't switched on the TV to watch the news since then. And that was in August, September, October of 2020. Since then, I haven't put the TV on to watch the news or anything else, as a matter of fact, but this is something else. And I will tell you, because this is the result of everything that I've been through since then. And what I actually decided to do for my own self to start with. So after those 2 months and after switching off the TV, I actually was completely numb. But not just numb, I was completely passive. I had zero interest in anything. So I used to try to sleep, and whenever I would sleep, there was always those videos coming back to my mind, those visuals of these people who were lost, these people who were like shedding blood all over, these people who had zero clue what was happening, those hospitals that were kind of like under attack because there were thousands of injured and hundreds of dead, and there was no place for them to go. And every time I used to close my eyes, that was exactly what I used to see. And for, I think, 2 months as well, or maybe even more after that, I was stuck in that place. I would stick to bed. I would just do zero things to lift myself up or to move forward with my life or to continue breathing or to continue living. I kind of lost all the will, and I became stuck in my own stagnation, in my own place, in my own brain that was just like, literally there are no words to explain what that was. I was just stuck. I was just there. I would wake up in the morning not wanting to wake up. I would just sit in bed, do literally nothing. Until one day, I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened, but I just woke up and I actually got out of bed. And I thought, I'm gonna do myself a cup of coffee. As I was making my coffee, I was getting some messages, I remember, on my phone. And people were still wondering what was happening or what happened. And people were still struggling. They were trying to gather food, gather clothes, gather anything that they could for the people who got hit by that explosion, whether directly or indirectly. And I thought to myself, I was like, how am I helping? How is everything that I'm doing, or everything that I have been doing for the past 3 to 4 months, how is this helping? How is this helping anyone back in my hometown? How is this helping me? How is this helping anything in my life or anyone in my life, close or far? And the answer was, in no way. I was certainly not helping anyone. I was certainly not helping myself by being stuck, by being just that person who kind of gave up on anything, on everything. And I remember thinking to myself, if this is how I'm gonna keep on living, I probably wouldn't last long. And I figured, if I really want to do something, if I really want to help, I have to get myself out of this spiral, like downward spiral of where my life was going. And that was the only thing that struck me there and then. I'm like, okay, I can't keep on doing this because there's no way I'm gonna get anywhere by being stuck this way, especially with all the negativity that I was having, and sometimes just the passiveness, not sometimes, all the time. And I thought to myself, so, well, if I keep on being that passive person, if I stick to snoozing my phone all the time and not getting out of bed and not doing anything in my life, I'm not going to be able to support myself to start with. And the reason why I'm saying this is I realized later how important it is to start with yourself, to start with you. And that's one of the things that helped me, or that made me thrive and that brought me to where I am today, is thinking of me first and foremost, not from a selfish perspective, but from the perspective of, if I can't fix things for myself, if I can't help my own self, how am I going to be able to help anyone else? If I am not loving to me, if I am not respecting to me, if I am not taking care of me, how am I going to be able to love anyone else or respect anyone else or even take care of anyone else? So that was the first thing that struck me. Like, if I was going to help, because that was the only thing that I wanted to do then, is help people, is like be there when I couldn't fly out there, when I couldn't physically be there. I wanted to be there somehow. But I couldn't be there by being stuck in my bed, by being stuck in my own brain, in my own mind. If I wanted to be there and if I wanted to help, I realized I needed to get over myself and get out of that place, get out of that procrastination that I was putting myself in, to get out of that stuckness that I was putting myself in, to get out of that prison. Oh my God, this is the first time that I ever say it. I literally put myself in a prison. And when you're in prison, there's nothing much that you can do except actually work on yourself. And that's what I realized. Okay, let me start by doing that. Let me start by working on me and figuring me out and figuring who I am and what I can do and what I need to change for me to be able to become that person who can actually help, that person who can actually hold someone else's hand and tell them, hey, I'm gonna guide you. I'm gonna show you the way. This is the best way to do it. How can I do that if I don't do it for me first? I cannot do it for anyone if I don't do it for me first. And that's exactly what I decided to do. I decided to go and dive and go just deeper, as deep as possible, to understand the first thing that I really wanted to understand back then was why? Why was that the reaction that I got when that explosion happened? Why was that the reaction? Like, why my reaction was to just become numb, to forget about everything, to let go, to just, and when I say let go, I don't mean like let go and live your life. No, I mean just let go as if I let go of my life completely. Like I stopped everything. And I wanted to understand, why is it that I did that? What was that trigger that made me do that? And then I started remembering. I started remembering my childhood. I started remembering how, when I was a child, because I was living in a country that had a lot of security unrest, and because there was war all the time, and like I would have never guessed in a million years, having lived in that country for 25 years, that I would actually get out of being the person who's always afraid, who's always worried, who's always struggling to stay safe. Because that was my childhood. That was how I lived almost my entire, not almost, definitely my entire childhood, and almost my entire teenage. And then everything after that was some sort of an accumulation or a reaction to an accumulation of those years where I was unsafe. I was like worried all the time, whether it was my worry or whether I was taking over the worry of my parents and of everyone around me, because they were always struggling to make sure that we are always alive. And everything that was happening in my childhood back then, my parents being always afraid for us, for our lives, moving from one place to another just because they wanted to make sure that we are safe and we are secured, and no gun will kill us, no what do you call them, bomb will hit the house and just shatter everyone around. This is my childhood. This is how my parents were living throughout my childhood, and this is how they were like figuring things out for me and for my siblings. And all of this was just accumulating in my own brain. That insecurity, that fear, that struggle, that, inconsistency, because we were never in one place for more than like 2-3 months at a time. Like we would move from one house to another, from one place to another, and everyone was scattered, not just our family. And I reckon this happened to almost every single family back in my home country, because of the war that we were subjected to. And a lot of it is like still happening, but not necessarily with the guns and with the bombs. But that insecurity is still there. That unsafety is still there. That fear is still there. It did not change. I changed. I decided to take control. I decided to, pull myself out of it. And I decided to understand why. And these were the reasons. These were the reasons why, because I did my inner check. I did my inner work. I went deep to understand what was holding me back, what was keeping me in that place, what was worrying me, what was scaring me. Why was I so afraid to the point that I was ready to just let everything go and just, unlive my life, if that makes any sense? So that inner discussion with myself, that inner discovery was the first thing that like opened my eyes and made me even want to go deeper and want to understand more. And this is when I discovered what was limiting me. What were those, like, I discovered what is called a limiting belief. I didn't even know about limiting beliefs before. I had heard of it, I never thought it was something that I had, I knew about it. I kind of worked with it somehow. And then life happened again and again, and I stopped. And then that explosion and those 3 to 4 months were kind of like a wake-up call for me to remember that you want to understand what is happening in here. What is happening in here? You want to remember who you are, who you truly are. Because a lot of people kind of tend to forget who they truly are in the essence of their being because of everything that happens around us in life. We live and we go with a certain flow that we don't necessarily like, we don't necessarily enjoy, but because we are used to it, because this is what is available to us, we kind of go with the flow and we just, live our life without thinking, without remembering, without understanding why we actually go through our life the way we go through it. Until that happens, until that day comes, until that aha moment comes and we start remembering. And every single one of us out there, I truly believe that every single one of us has a mission, is here on a mission, is here because there is something very specific that they want to do in this life. But most of us have forgotten. Most of us have been living, just going with the flow and living our lives, just, if I dare say it, like sheep, and just following whatever it is that we are following, God knows, but, just moving with the crowd. Until something drastic happens in our life and we start remembering. And sometimes it's not just one thing. Sometimes people have to go through several drastic moments in their lives and several aha moments in their lives to have like their eyes open, Like for me, it wasn't just that explosion. There were things that happened even before that were opening my eyes, and I would start doing things. I would remember, but then again, I would forget. And I would remember again, and I would forget. I would remember again, and I would forget. And that was like kind of my life for years until that explosion back in Lebanon, and that huge change that occurred, not just for me, but for every single person who was, whether directly or indirectly, involved in that explosion. And that was my moment. That was my biggest moment, my moment of like kind of my moment of no return, because before I had so many other moments, but I was always returning back to that place of procrastination, to that place of, I'll do this later. Maybe it's not really my calling. Yeah, maybe I was mistaken. And I was like, okay, let's stay where we are because we know this. Because this is easy for me, because this is something I'm familiar with, because this is something I've been doing for so many years, and I can keep on doing it for another so many years. But can I? Can you? Is this where you want to be actually? You want to be stuck in that place where you keep on doing the same things over and over again? Whether they are right or wrong is a different story, but like, is this where anyone would want to be? In that place of no development, no success, nothing that really works for you, or nothing that really speaks to you, or nothing that really speaks for you. Like, who are you? What are you here to do? So my aha moment of no return was that explosion. And those 4 months, actually, it's not just the explosion, the whole, like that whole life combination of 4 months of me being stuck and doing literally zero, nothing. That was my wake-up call. That was my aha moment. That was my, like, strike on my head. It was like someone hit me, and that was it. I woke up. I realized, okay, I have to do something about it. I have to do something about where I am, what I'm doing, and move forward, not backwards, and not even stay where I am. And that's when I realized all of this, when I started working on myself, on my inner discovery, understanding who and what and why I am where I am. And what is it that I'm here to do? Only then I figured things out, and I figured, okay, now I'm going to understand what is holding me back, or what was holding me back from doing all of these things. And my limiting beliefs were the biggest, like, brake. The car brake, I mean, not a brake. Like, they were the brake. They were the stopping mechanism that was stopping me from doing anything that of the things that I actually came here to do. That brake that kept me back and held me back from so much that I know I'm here to do. And that's when I started working on my limiting beliefs. I started understanding what are limiting beliefs. What is it that they do? They're just limiting us. Simple. They are called limiting beliefs for a reason, because they limit us. And they limit us from so many things, but mostly from thriving and from becoming the best versions of who we truly are in the essence of our being. And me discovering my limiting beliefs was like, oh my God. The things that I've discovered about how I was raised, where I was raised, and how that affected me and my life, and how I was literally kind of bringing all of this with me to my current life. Not now, back then. And I was living from that place all the time. I was stuck in that place. I wasn't only stuck during, or after that explosion. I realized that I was stuck my whole life. I was stuck in that dilemma, or in that, not dilemma, I was stuck in that vicious circle of repeating all those mistakes that I was doing over and over again because of having those very specific limiting beliefs. I was living out of fear. I was living out of lack. I was living out of abandonment. I was living out of abuse. I was living out of lack of security. So all of this contributed to my life in a way that was holding me back from becoming the best version of me. And that place was no place for me, and it should not be a place for anyone. We are all divine beings. We are all put, or we all came to this planet, or we are all existing to thrive and to become the best versions of who we are, to become high vibrations, if that makes any sense. We are all here on a mission. And that mission is to lift that whole planet up energetically and in an amazing way, for this planet to become the real loving planet that it should be, or that it was created to be. At least this is what I believe. And I can assure you there are so many people out there who believe just like I do, who are, in this same place, that we are here as protectors of this amazing place that we live in. And as this is part of my mission, I was determined that I'm going to understand everything about me and everything that was holding me back, so that I can personally start with myself. And Michael Jackson has this song, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. And that's exactly what I did. I started with the woman in the mirror. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, Maysoon, this is not going to be your reality. You know you are meant for more. You know you came here for a reason. And you owe it to yourself to figure it out and to thrive and to become the best possible version of who you are, so that when you are in that place, you will be able to guide others and not just be on your own for your own, because that's not who you are. That's not why you are here. And so by digging and understanding all those limitations that I had inherited somehow from my life, from my history, even with my own DNA, there were things that I've inherited, not just from my parents or not just from my childhood, from childhoods and childhoods before me. Like generations and generations, we've been living in that sacred land, by the way, of Lebanon. Generations and generations before, that land was kind of living in an unrest for generations. And when I think of that land being that sacred land that it is, I realize why. Because it is sacred. Because it is sacred. And when things are sacred, a lot of us, unfortunately, kind of try to hurt that sacred, whether it's something that is in us or outside of us. But I'm not here to hurt. I'm here to build. I'm here to help. I'm here to support. And I'm here to guide and to give from my own self the things that I have been through that taught me so much. I'm here to give those to you. I'm here to try and kind of transmit that knowledge to the people who want or who are in those shoes that I was in years ago. And the third thing that I realized, which was a big, big thing, and it's still a big thing for me, because I remember growing up, my mom used to like keep everything around, and I totally understand why she used to do that, but what I cannot understand is why she's still doing that today. And what I'm talking about basically is her not throwing anything away, like, and I mean anything. Like, I have videos, if I share those videos, you would be like, why would anyone keep something like that? So if you haven't guessed it yet, my mom is a hoarder. And I somehow can understand why she used to do that when we were living in the war times, when we were living in that space. But today, I can't really understand why she's still doing that. Why she still keeps things that are literally not going to be of any added value to her in her life, be it physically, mentally, energetically, what have you, in any way you want to think about it. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because that was the third thing that actually made me understand how important my space was for me to actually thrive, for me to actually leave from here and be here. This understanding how much the energy around me was holding me back at some times in my life, I realized that it wasn't just the energy of my thoughts and you know, my limiting beliefs and or understanding where I am or my inner discovery. No, it was also the physical energy of the physical things that were surrounding me. My space, my own space. And I realized how effective or how much I was, you know, being blocked or stuck because of that when I went to my parents' house after that explosion, like 1 year later, not 1 year actually, less than a year later. And the first thing that happened is when I stepped inside my parents' house, I felt like there was this kind of burden, like weight. I felt like there was something weighing on my head. There was like no room for me to move, no room for me to breathe, no room for me to speak, no room for me to be. And I was wondering, what is that? You know, what is that? And that was, my friends, my dear pearls, that was the energy of every single item that my mother keeps in our home. Her home. I can't call it my home because my home cannot be that place. I won't be able to breathe in such a place. My home is very minimal. And when I say minimal, I don't mean it's cheap or it's lacking, or it's minimal because my space needs that energy. It needs that spaciousness so that I can breathe, so that I can be, so that I can become the person that I am supposed to be. So the first thing that I did is, after visiting my parents, that I think it was on a February, a couple of years ago, the first thing that I did when I came back, I was like, that's it. I am getting rid of almost everything that I own. And when I say getting rid, I didn't get rid of it like throw it away. I gave it from the bottom of my heart. And I know that there are a lot of people who need so many things that we own, and sometimes we just own for zero reasons, for like literally no reason at all. So I decided when I came back, I said, you know what? I'm gonna clear my space because I want to be able to go into my own house or home, because this is home to me, and feel like I am uplifted and feel like I'm kind of high, without having to do anything. Just being in my own home. I felt that need to do this exercise. And I did it. And one day, I'm not going to make you wait too long. One day, not too soon, but soon enough, I will share with you some pictures and some videos that I took when I was doing that exercise. I tell you, on the first day, the energy that was released inside my own home, because I took out so many things. I hadn't even, by the way, I just hadn't even got them out of the house. But my intention was that these items are going to be donated. They're going to leave. So only having that intention in my mind and taking those items, putting them in bags, and just tying those bags, and in my mind, these are not mine anymore. Just having that intention made my home feel that much lighter. I cannot explain it. When I share those videos with you and when I share those pictures, you will understand what I mean. Because even when I share those videos and those pictures, I can bet my life on it that you sitting in your own house, having your own space the way it is, will feel lighter when you see that before and after effect of those, like of that decluttering exercise that I did for my own house, for my own home. I proudly call it my home. I've been living in this space for 12 years. And every time I come into my space, I feel like I'm coming into my zone. I'm coming into my own sanctuary. And this is what I want for every single person out there. To be living in their own sanctuary. To be living in a place that is completely like deprived of any negative energies that a lot of belongings can actually hold, especially with time. And that's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I'm all about. I'm all about supporting and helping people get out of those places, understanding who they truly are, understanding why they are here. What is it that their life means to them? And what is it that their mission is? What is it that they want to do? What is it that they thrive to do? What is it that they came here to fulfill? And the only way anyone would be able to do this is to understand who they truly are and figure out, like deep down inside, their own essence and their understanding their own soul, so that they can from there move to that place where they can thrive and they can become the successful person that they are meant to be. Because we are, as I said, we are all divine. We are all people who are put in this place to thrive and to be successful and to become the best versions of who we are. And that's, I call us champions. I say we are all champions. We just need to, like, you know, sometimes that champion is stuck under layers and layers and layers of years of conditioning and years of behaving in the same way and the same pattern over and over and over again. Because we are stuck in that place, we kind of forget, we kind of like just go with the flow and live our life, not the way it's supposed to be lived. And that champion is always, always in there struggling and trying to, you know, like, please let me out, you know, just like the genie in the bottle. Please let me out. And that's how I let my genie out. That's how I let my champion out. I worked on myself. I understood everything about me. Well, I still have a lot to understand, actually, because once you start this journey, and this is the beauty of it, once you start this journey and when you start figuring out who you truly are, you just want to know more. You just want to learn more. You just want to become even better. You just want to rise even higher. You just want to elevate your vibrations even more and more. There's no looking back. Once you start, there's no looking back. I just want to go from here up to here, up to here, up to here, up to here. And then there's no limit. I don't even say the sky is the limit, because I truly, honestly believe that there is no limit to how much I can be, to where I can go. And that, my pearls, is my message to you, and that's my invitation to you, actually. My question to you before I send you that invitation, before I tell you about that invitation, my question to you is, are you where I was? Are you stuck? Are you stagnating? Are you procrastinating? Are you living your life in that same vicious circle, that repetitive pattern of doing the same mistakes, of going through the same life over and over and over again, and wondering, why is that happening to me? Are you in that place? Because this is where I used to be. And I used to wonder, why is it happening to me? So if you are, and your answer is yes to this question, you are in that place. Yes, Maysoon, I am in that place, and please tell me what I can do. Well, it's very simple. What you can do is you can tell me that you are there and that maybe I'm the right person to help you. And if you think that in any way I might be able to lead you or to guide you to move from this place where you are today to this place where I am today, or even higher, just let me know. In the comments below, just say, I'm ready. In capital, say, I am ready. If you are that person that I used to be, if you believe that you are stuck, and if you believe that you are going through that same pattern over and over again in your life, and you think that I might be able to add value to you and maybe support you and guide you, because I kind of have the blueprint, you know? So if this is you and you want to cross and just be here rather than be here and stay here, let me know in the comments below. Say, I am ready. And I will make sure I will reach out to you. We can start a conversation. That's my invitation to you. And maybe even hop on a call and see where you are at in your life. And even then, some of what I might be able to share might help you and guide you along the way. So if that's you, just let me know. I am ready in the comments below, and I will reach out to you and I will see how I can, with my own blueprint, with my own steps, help you in your own journey. And with that, my dear pearls, I want to wish you a great rest of the day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I send you infinite blessings, and I bid you farewell until we meet again next week. Ciao, ciao.